This video is going to talk about the increasing popularity of commissioned illustration in the UK during this last decade. It may seem that increased popularity favored the industry, and so don't arise difficulties to overcome. However, since the panorama around the discipline is changing, so they are the industry possibilities of illustration. Between these possibilities there is a strong trend which encourages illustrators to provide an authorial voice. The study is going to raise questions about the place of this emerging authorial illustrator within the industry and how the structures around are changing in response to that. The popularity of illustration among commissioners has been growing and decreasing through the history, responding to the arising new media which offer the same product. One historical example could be the popularization of color photography in the beginnings of the 20th century. Adam Graff, illustrator and artist with many years of experience on publishing imagery across all the sectors of the creative industry, including advertising, design, editorial and publishing, and more recently working in self-initiated projects as a co-founder of the collective Hero of Switzerland, describes the current state of illustration.
It's respected more, there's more variation in where it can be, there's more opportunities of how it can be delivered and received. Yeah, it's a really positive time and a really exciting time for illustration because of the potential.
In the middle of digital era, with a wide range of visual media available on the web for cheap prices, commissioned illustration seems to be in its best moment. But why? To explore the causes and the consequences, firstly, we need to understand what does it mean to be a commissioned illustrator, in which structures it operates and which entities are regulating it. Commissioned illustrators are those who are asked to create an illustration for a client. In the world of illustration, this client is not the final consumer, but an intermediate, who will create a product including your work. As possible clients, the Association of Illustrators identifies three commission sectors: advertising, editorial and publishing. Whether it is a commission to illustrate a book, to create a magazine front page, or to advertise a product, normally the person who deals with the illustrator giving a specific brief for the job is the art director. Going back to the question, which are the causes of this popularity? In the first place, the growth of the creative industries, some of them considered as potential illustration commissioners, implies more working opportunities for the sector. As an example, in relation to the publishing industry, the Publishers Association points out that the total of sales from physical and digital books and journals are up by 7%, showing how this is translated to a growing contribution of the publishing industry to the UK economy, especially via promoting adjacent industries fitting the sector, where illustration would be considered. Additionally, within advertising, an extended use of images is being promoted, acknowledging how image-based ads are more memorable for audiences. And in second place, the rise of social media strengthens this popularity in a double way, partly as a platform for illustrators to show their work and reach possible commissioners. But also, digital media is making our content via the internet to feel remote, distant, and even untrustworthy. As Aurelie, the editor of Barry magazine, asserted in The Computerless magazine, with technologies continually converging, consumers are increasingly interested in unique, trustable forms of content across their media, and not just different media-appropriate iterations. And it seems that illustration can provide it more than other image media. Therefore, editors, publishers, and art directors are asking illustrators to provide unique voices. As Sherry G., art director of the Folio Society, recently said for Barry magazine, is more their imagination than their skill. The difference between a great and an okay illustrator is often in the way they can read the scene in the text, put a spin on it, and get an angle. Acknowledging that, Adrian Shaughnessy argued that the authorial instinct is no longer a choice for illustrators, it's a necessity. Thus, this growing popularity is encouraging the illustrator to develop his own voice and style, to create these original and unique forms of content sought by the industry. And consequently, the opportunities for the illustrator are changing.
Additional areas of where you would sort of feed your imagery would be much smaller, and really there wasn't much of an opportunity for you to be your own product as an illustrator, and now there's a new respect for it. There's more opportunities more opportunities for illustration to be commissioned, more opportunities for brands to buy into image.
And at the same time, the rise of these new possibilities implies rethinking the traditional structure of the industry. One response opens the discipline to more commissioner sectors, and the other is addressed to offer your own product. In regards to commissioned work, whereas before illustration could fit just some of the creative industries, now it can be present almost anywhere. Within all these sectors, considering that the illustrator creates more than simply supportive images and provides his own voice, the figure of the art director is in the spotlight, as their position has to deal with what illustrators want to say to their audience and what the industry they represent wants from them.
I've always said that we should be teaching our art directors, which is our graphic design students. A good art director will be someone who, first of all, selects the right illustrator, knows exactly what they want to get from the illustrator, and allow the illustrator to shine without constricting them with their own. It's like a relationship.
Hence, the distance between the illustrator and the art director is getting shorter. Briefs can be more open, and both together, even working in collaboration, have a big opportunity to get more playful. And this means to take as much advantage as possible from the commission. The illustration of a book can be expanded with the design of the character as a physical marionette, and a front cover can turn into animation. However, the classic structure where the illustrator works just as a drawer, being restricted to briefs, even to sketch samples, still exists, despite competing against the wide variety of imagery offered by stock houses. In any case, the Association of Illustrators, being aware of this emergency of commissioned work as embedded in different products, is taking advantage of the consultations made around the extended copyright license to encourage the Copyright Licensing Agency and the Intellectual Property Office to develop a universal system of identifiers for these embedded works in order to be recognized in the database, enabling claims for payback of royalties via tax, as it is done now with non-embedded forms. Giving even more room to the authorial voice of the illustrator, as pointed previously, it appears a possibility to create own projects and offer them directly to the audience. Thus, customers, in this case, instead of being commissioners, would be audiences. In this direction, encouraged by the statements of the Independent Review of the Creative Industries regarding how education should adapt to the changing necessities of the industry, some university curriculums of illustration courses are revised to cover new areas in relation to this authorial possibility. As a main example, Falmouth University is offering a new master called Illustration Authorial Practice. Nigel Owen indicates their approach.
In the UK, it certainly is focused on problem solving and generating ideas. That's something that we've really pushed.
Stephen Brown, illustrator and coordinator of the master, asserts that a new and more autonomous illustrator is emerging, one who is able to develop their own projects, be enterprising and generate their own employment. In this vein, the MA has a close relationship with the independent publisher of graphic literature, Atlantic Press, which allows the students to directly experience the development of their own projects. These self-initiated projects described by Brown are becoming increasingly popular. Looking into last year's list of the World Illustration Awards, the amount of work selected in the category of self-initiated projects give us an idea of that.
There's definitely more of that, and there will be more of that. Artists being them, doing work, authorial work, and other companies perhaps. Well, I mean, perhaps they don't even need companies. Perhaps it's enough that they sell their and create an industry or business for their own. It just sells their own stuff.
As Graf notices, this kind of projects don't have a definitive place within the industry. When we are talking about illustrators being authors of books as graphic novels, their work will be considered as part of the publishing industry. But when they are pieces closer to our works, illustrators start operating within the art industry, looking for external funding or as self-funded associations, organizing events and exhibitions to sell their products. In the case of the collective The Hero of Switzerland, Graf explains.
This is a group of illustrators that come together for the purpose of generating self-initiated work. We probably could get crowdfunding. We probably could get even some sort of sponsorship, actually, but we tend to self-fund it, which means because we spread it amongst, say, 10 illustrators for any one particular project, then we all contribute to, say, the gallery hire. We have affiliations with industry, actually, like shops sell our work, and so when you build up those sort of connections, then they might offer you their space at a reduced rate, and then we will share that cost.
All this explosion of industry opportunities is complemented by the creation of a theoretical frame for the discipline. Rick Biner, columnist and founder of A magazine, wrote in 2010 that illustration was missing critical history. In 2016, he pointed out how the work done by Mpp magazine, published by the Association of Illustrators from 2005, as well as the work done by the Journal of Illustration from 2014, are allowing to treat the subject as a potentially serious form of art. Also in this direction, in July 2014, the House of Illustration opened physical doors in King's Cross Regeneration Area as a registered charity, being the only public gallery dedicated to illustration and graphic arts. To sum up, commissioner work is starting to seek in illustration unique forms of content, opening the discipline to other industries and allowing different working structures in collaboration with art directors. Furthermore, the development of this authorial illustrator is leading to other working possibilities, where the illustrator is autonomous enough to initiate own projects that can be directly presented or sold to audiences, enabling illustration to become more than a supportive industry. Despite the discipline is clearly making connections either with other industries and with art galleries and organizations, the authorial illustrator who develops self-initiated projects does not have a solid place in the industry. As already announced, this will happen when all clients understand that illustration is no longer the super act, it's the headliner.